This used to be the best value trail bike in the world, but with this new updated model and a slight price increase, did Polygon fix the problems or miss the mark? Can it still hit jumps, ride chunk, and hit drops like the expensive mountain bikes? And today we're gonna find out if the all-new Polygon Siskiyou T6 is still worthy of being called the best value mountain bike. So Bikes Online just dropped this new and revamped Polygon Siskiyou T6. This is the base model for the T series, selling right now for just $15.99. This is a trail bike with 29-inch wheels with 140mm front travel, 135 in the rear. The last generation was great. I have a whole series building and upgrading that, but it had some issues. Mainly the wheels and tires were too heavy, and the stock bike weighed over 37 pounds. It was super heavy to lug uphill. But from the initial unboxing, it looks like a lot of that has been changed, so I'm pretty optimistic for this bike. But here's the thing with budget bikes. Brands usually try to cut corners somewhere. So in order for this to be a legit, capable trail bike, it needs to be able to do all of these things, plus the build itself needs to have dropper post, boost through axles, front and rear, a clutch derailleur, hydraulic disc brakes, a tapered head tube, and air sprung suspension. From what I'm seeing, this build is legit. When this first got announced, it seemed like it was just a minor update with a UDH and a new paint job, but I'm thinking this is a major overhaul, especially when it comes to parts, but we'll get to that in a little bit. They did tweak the geometry though, so let's talk about that. Polygon went longer and slacker. Last generation, the medium was borderline too small for me. I'm 5'9". Well, this new one has a 5mm longer reach, a half-degree slacker head tube angle, and a steeper seat tube angle too. In theory, that means it should be a little bit more stable on the downhill and feel a little bit better on the climbs, but we'll see if I feel a difference on the trail. Bikes Online sends this bike all tuned up, ready to ride right out of the box. But before I go test it, there's a few small things that I want to change that will make a huge difference, starting with the pedals. Most new bikes come with really cheap pedals. Luckily, these ones are metal with pretty nice pins, but most of the time they're plastic. They're fine for casual riding, but once you start pushing it on the trail, you're gonna want some more grip. So I picked up these new 1UP pedals. A bit of a splurge, but even an upgraded composite set would still be a big upgrade. Next, let's take out the tubes. Going tubeless is a huge performance upgrade. Seals punctures, and you can run lower tire pressure for more grip. These tires are a huge improvement over the last generation. Maxxis Dissector with EXO Plus casing. That means more sidewall protection and a huge upgrade over the V tires that it used to come with. Those were like downhill tires and way too heavy and really held back the bike. Luckily, the rims are pre-taped for tubeless, so going tubeless was a breeze. From here, I'll use my shock pump to dial in the suspension for my weight. And the last thing I'm curious about is the weight of this bike. Dang, 35.3 pounds? That means it's 2 pounds lighter than the last generation. I can't wait to see how this thing rides now. All right, it's time to see if Polygon has fixed the issues with this bike. And I haven't really mentioned the parts because I really want to get a feel for this bike first. And I don't know, I'm thinking I probably should have went with the large. It's feeling a little bit small. I just went to a hill and I bedded in the brakes. Got that all taken care of. I don't know, a medium should be pretty playful. So let's go hit some jumps. All right, advanced jump zone. I'm excited to test out this Polygon. And right away, I'm like, man, I should have went with a large. Yeah. Whoop. Oh man, on second thought, I don't know, that medium was pretty playful. That was like the biggest whip I had ever done. That's crazy. This bike feels just like a modern mountain bike. This is crazy. So
The last generation had these really wide rims, 35 millimeter rims, and it was just so heavy. Those wheels were so stiff. And then on top of that, the V tires that were like basically downhill tires. So last generation was supposed to be a trail bike, but it just felt like this enduro sled. It was so heavy. And with this bike being 2 pounds lighter, now the rims are 30 millimeters wide and the tires are, you know, Exo Plus, like I mentioned, so much lighter, and it just feels like a peppy trail bike now. So that's awesome. Let's go hit another trail with a little bit more elevation. Yeah, it's crazy what the right wheels and tires can do for a bike. Well, let's see how this thing really jumps. Oh man, this trail is beat up. Be a good test for the suspension. All right, well, the bike was a little bit twitchy on that trail, and I think to get a little bit more stability, I'd probably go with a 50 millimeter long stem. But Polygon changed out the entire cockpit. Now the bars have more rise, the grips are different and a lot better. And my favorite, the dropper lever has been changed. It is plastic, but it pivots on like a big bearing, just like all the expensive dropper levers do. And the seat is different now, and I like it a lot better than what it used to come with. But it's time to really put this bike to the test to see if the suspension can handle some chunk. Let's go hit it. All right, next trail is a chunk trail. And this would be a good test to see if the derailleur is loud too. Here we go. Oh, brakes aren't really bed in yet. Oh yeah, it's crazy how good a fresh Recon can feel. Feels pretty good. Oh man, I wish these brakes were bed in a little bit more. All right, this is a section where the bike side tests usually get pretty overwhelmed. Man, this bike did way better than I expected, but I gotta say, I learned a lot about proper form when I was testing the downhill bike in August, about dropping your heels, keeping your pedals level, and like keeping neutral. So once you have proper form, the suspension kind of calms down and everything. So maybe that's what I'm feeling, but I'm impressed with this bike so far. But there's one more thing I wanna test, and that's drops. So like I was saying earlier, it seemed like when this bike launched, it was just a UDH update, but the closer I look at it, the entire rear end has been changed, including the drivetrain. So before it was a 42 tooth cassette that could not be expanded, and now it's the Shimano Qs, so it's a 10 speed 48 tooth cassette. And it looks like they've changed the chain line to 55 millimeters, and that's kind of the new standard that the mountain bike industry is quietly pushing. And that means with the UDH, you can run the SRAM transmission, but also the engineers use that extra wider space to make a thicker frame by the seat tube. And they've also redesigned the cable routing, which is a huge problem last generation because that cable would always rub on the tire. So that's why I'm saying this is a fully revamped bike, not just a minor update. All right, the last test of this bike is this 12-foot drop called Drop the Hammer. And it's crazy. All this riding so far, I have not bottomed out the front or rear shock. So that's kind of crazy. But looking over the edge of this drop is big. I hope this cheap bike can handle it. All right, this one's a big one. Got to be focused for this. See how this Polygon does. Oh yeah! Ooh, tires folded a little bit. Oh yeah. Wow, they redid this. That's so cool. Nice. This bike is good, man. Heck yeah, man. And I still didn't bottom out the suspension. But Polygon did a great job with this new update, and it's way better than the last version. And I can still give this the title of the best value mountain bike. And if you want to check one out, I'll have a link in the description. But I just wonder if I should build this bike out. What do you think?